All right, welcome everyone. My name is Art Mola, and I'm the proud principal of Cardozo Education Campus. I want to welcome everyone to the very important and historical institution known as Cardozo Education Campus. So welcome first and foremost. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mayor Bowser, for choosing Cardozo as this location for today. Chancellor Farabee, always an honor to have you, and of course, Deputy Mayor Paul Kine. Thank you for being here, and to all of my esteemed guests that are here. So once again, welcome to the important historical institution known as Cardozo Education Campus, and I am the proud principal here. It's going to, of course, before I introduce my guest that's going to introduce the mayor, I just want to say that as a principal, you know, I recognize that the work that happens in a school is not just the principal's job alone, right? The principal, for the most part, is more of a symbolic figure in the building that makes a lot of decisions. The vast majority of them, not very good, intelligent ones, but the few that I make, you know, go down as really good decisions. And I'm happy to say, right, that one of the best decisions that we could have made this year was agreeing to have a high-impact tutoring coordinator, Dr. Christine Mafuscio, right behind the mayor. Ironically enough, she joined our school community as a long-term substitute teacher last year, and I think it was one of the best hires we had this year because the impact that she has had on our students and the teachers by way of the high-impact tutoring program has definitely been felt, and I can't wait to see everything that's going to happen afterwards. So with that being said, it is my absolute pleasure of introducing a student that I hold near and dear. Her name is Jada Casey Mayo. She's going to introduce herself and tell you all about herself. But let me just say, when I say this is a rock-solid, rock star senior that's going to go on to do amazing things in life, you are in her presence right now. So Jada, come on up.
Thank you, Principal Mola. My name is Jada Casey Mayo, and I'm a 12th grader here at Cardozo Education Campus. Go Clerks! The mission of Cardozo is to provide a safe and supportive environment for its students. I'm proud to say that my time here has lived up to this vision. Over the last 4 years, I've been a part of the Trans-STEM Academy for Engineering and Computer Science. I have been a member of the Student XQ Redesign Team and maintained a 3.8 GPA, have an academic award in education and JROTC awards, and participated in volleyball, basketball, and flag football. After I graduate in a few short months, I will join the U.S. Army for Infantry and Airborne, and can't wait to see my future endeavors. Thank you.
Well, let's hear from Ms. Mayo. Give her a big round of applause. And I love that you have your plan and you are very directed, and we want to congratulate you in advance from graduating from one of DC's premier institutions, Cardozo Education Campus. Go Clerks! Principal Mola, I gave my mother your regards. I just finished texting her because my mother is a clerk. And I asked her, what year did you graduate, Mom? And she said, so many years ago. But her regard for Cardozo and ours persists. I want to also thank Principal Mola. He is a representative of a wonderful cadre of principals that we have in DC Public Schools, and their responsibilities are tremendous. They are responsible for hundreds of our young learners, facilities, making sure that the kids have nutrition and athletics, that they're challenged, that they are safe, and that they are loved. And they do it in an outstanding manner. The principals, of course, are educators, so they think of themselves sometimes just as educators. And I want to make sure everybody knows that along with my cabinet, they are a tremendous group of public sector executives. So let's hear it for our DCPS principals. We also know that we've gone through quite a bit in the last 3 years, and we're coming up on a time when I made one of the most difficult decisions of my tenure, and that was because of the COVID pandemic, to close our schools and our government, to make sure we could crush the virus, get people vaccinated, and safely reopen our city. We know that it was necessary, but we know it has also had a tremendous impact on our kids. And that is why we were so focused on making sure that we were the first in the region to safely reopen our schools to students and educators. And we are so proud of the work that all of our public officials, teachers, principals, janitors, nurses did to make sure we could get back in our buildings. But we are also challenged now to make sure we can get our kids back on track. We have made the necessary money investments. We have selected the best proven measures that we know work to help kids. And now we want to make sure that we're doubling down more on what works. So Dr. Grant will speak in a moment about the impacts of high impact tutoring and why it's so important that that's exactly what we invest in across the city. But high impact tutoring, they tell me, means more than just targeting the students who need it the most. We should focus on what they're getting. We're teaching them in small group settings and tutoring them multiple times a week. So we want to make sure that families know about what's available and are making sure their kids are connected. We have high impact tutoring in 59 schools this year. And today we're announcing 9 organizations that will get an additional round of funding. And that will allow these organizations to work with 3,600 more students over the next 20 months. So here at Cardozo, it means that we will double the number of providers that OSSI is funding from 3 to 6 providers right here at Cardozo. So overall, we set the goal to serve 10,000 kids through high impact tutoring through 2024, and we're well on track to exceed that goal. So I want to thank all of the organizations who have stepped up to do this work for us. I also want to thank people in the community who are serving as tutors. And if you're interested in tutoring, you can go to citytutor.dc.gov to see how you too can get involved. And I want to make one public service announcement in addition to finding out about high impact tutoring. I also want to remind students and all of our adults who are serving our students that the time is now to sign up for the Summer Youth Employment Program. And you can go to summerjobs.dc.gov to apply by February 28th. So we have this entire month to get all of our kids signed up for the Summer Youth Program. And I was reminded, and sometimes because we've been doing it for 43 years, we take the Summer Youth Program for granted. But you can go to major cities around the United States that cannot make a similar pledge. That if you are between 14 and 24 years old in Washington, D.C., you will have a summer job if you want a summer job, and it will be a meaningful experience. We're proud of the partnership that we've been able to have between Employment Services and DCPS to also make sure that summer jobs are also enrichment opportunities. Always looking for ways to make sure that we're getting our kids on track. So with that, I want to introduce our Superintendent for Education, Dr. Christina Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. We are really excited to be here today. First, Principal Moeller, thanks for allowing us in your home and the opportunity to see our work in action. Jada, well, all right. Thank you for your learning now, but more importantly, Jada, thank you for your service. It's a special commitment to design to serve your country. And so thank you, and we are going to lift you in your journeys. I'm very honored to meet you today. Can you tell I'm from a military family? I do want to echo the mayor's remarks and just frame how excited we are to be here today to celebrate another round of funding, a $7 million investment that builds on what the mayor's signature investment has been, which is high impact tutoring. We're really proud of both the local and national attention we're getting for this investment. We didn't just sign one contract to say tutoring should exist in one way. We are working with every single school, which I'm so excited to see and hear, to see our partners in the school, to see our hiring manager, so that tutoring lives inside the school and is designed around the school community. And some schools you'll see tutoring occur before school or after school. Some schools will have it interwoven in their instructional day. And the through line is very simple. For most of us who had access or opportunity, you could go home and say, I am struggling. And someone would have resources to ensure you got that extra support. It wasn't a negative thing. It wasn't seen as a failure of a student. It was the acknowledgement that most of us got through our journey with a little extra help. Here in Washington, D.C., we want to normalize that extra help, and then we want to ensure that it's done with a level of quality. And so that is what high impact tutoring it is. It occurs multiple days a week inside of our schools. It's focused on math and literacy, and it really is one of our signature investments in accelerated learning. We were very clear that coming back from the pandemic was going to involve and require a new approach to learning, to make sure that our children were in school safe and on this journey of recovering from a global pandemic. And so I am excited. I leaned over to the deputy mayor and said, I'm excited that not only are we continuing to support our current grantees like City Tutor, but we're welcoming more individuals into the fold, again, based on the data that we see. And so our 9 new providers are going to focus on math and literacy. They're going to think differently about how they provide individualized service. And so, I am a happy superintendent this morning. I do want to acknowledge our current partners that are here today, City Tutor DC, the Literacy Lab, and GW's Math Matters program, and then welcome our new partners into the fold, American University, which is important to note the role that our higher education partners are playing in this investment, that college students are also signing up to be a part of this high impact tutoring investment. When you think about being a college student, how else better to use your work study dollars than to spend some time in our schools? American University, Dance Makers, the Great Oaks Foundation, Horton's Kids, Lana Learn, Multicultural Career Intern Program, Saga Education, The House, and Tutor Partners. Some of these organizations live and breathe in DC. Some will be new to our area, but we know that our schools will be excited to work with them. And we are very excited to know that we are on track to exceed our target of serving 10,000 students by September of 2024. Mayor, once again, thank you so much for your commitment. We as the public education team go often with ideas around what we know will work inside of our schools. And this investment, the deepening of this investment, are going to see us to and through this pandemic. We look forward to continuing the journey to be the best urban school district in the country. Next, I will proudly turn things over to the Chancellor of DC Public Schools, Chancellor Farabee.
Thank you, Dr. Grant, for your remarks. And you are absolutely right. We're excited to be at this moment. We would not be at this particular juncture without your leadership. So thank you to you and your team for coordinating and facilitating our high-impact tutoring efforts in DC Public Schools and for our DC Public Charter Schools as well. Jada, we're all impressed. We're very fortunate to have you start us off today, because I think it centers what we are trying to accomplish and to ensure that our young people, when they graduate in DC, that they're prepared for the next step in life. So congratulations to you. I look forward to celebrating with you in your graduation in a few months. And it's always a pleasure to meet young people who are interested in serving our country. So again, thank you. Mayor Bowser, we're winning today. We are winning today. So this is another opportunity to accelerate learning in DC public schools and across the city. So thank you for supporting this effort and champion our recovery. As many of you may know, that we have seen gains in achievement historically in DC public schools, and we have a very specific approach to ensuring that we meet all of the academic and social and emotional needs of our students. And one way we do that is ensuring that students have the ability to accelerate learning throughout the day, after school, or the weekends. And so this is one of the ways that we do that. And it's important to note that as we think about tutoring and high impact tutoring, whether it be individualized or small group instruction, this used to be a privilege. I think about my time as a teacher, as a principal, a school leader, that these types of services were for the few. And we're proud that this is something that we offer throughout DCPS and throughout the city for our students who need these services. Also, we know that throughout the pandemic that we have ground to cover. We're very fortunate that we've been able to hold the ground in literacy. We believe the literacy partners that we have in the room and across the district have allowed us to continue our work there. And we're now entering the space where deepening our math services as well. So give you some of the numbers. And again, Principal Mola, we're really excited to be here today at Cardozo. But Cardozo, so just so you know, has doubled the number of students receiving high impact tutoring. And they've also seen the number of individuals in their student body significant increase that have been served as well. So thank you, Principal Mola, for your leadership. And what we're seeing is increased results in student achievement in our formative assessments here at Cardozo and across the city. Principal Mola mentioned that he has someone supporting him. So I just want to shout out the entire Cardozo team. And also we have high impact tutoring coordinators in our facilities. And so you gave a shout out to Christine Mafucio. Thank you for your service. And we have 10 of these coordinators in our schools across DCPS who really take some of the lift off of our principals and administrative team to do all the coordination to ensure that we have our external providers at the table, and also we have our staff members who are interested in tutoring be a part of that process as well. So we're excited that we have over 4,000 students in DC public schools that are receiving high impact tutoring either by our staff or external providers. And we had over 3,500 students served this year already. So we're excited that we're having this moment where we can grow this opportunity for our students. And I want to go back to something that Dr. Grant said earlier, is that sometimes there's a misconception about tutoring, that we only do it when, students are further behind. But this is something that we are applying across the district to accelerate learning. And we have a multi-tier system of supports where we monitor the progress of our students, where we're nimble, we can adjust, whether they're both content areas that students are receiving services or math or literacy. So it's a great time to win the day for our students and our recovery. And I'm really grateful that we have the team here at Cardozo and across our city that is implementing this strategy. So with that, I'm going to stop. And I believe next we have questions that we're going to entertain. So I welcome back up Mayor Bowser and Superintendent Grant.
Thank you. And I want to thank and recognize Deputy Mayor Paul Kine, who was a big part and leader of our public education team. And I want everybody to recognize that our system works together because of members of the executive branch, our partners on the council, the State Board of Education, and the Public Charter School Board. And so with that, we'll take questions. I'll start with the press. Yes.
Could someone speak to the emphasis on the science of reading in the tutoring instruction?
Sure.
I can. So DC Public Schools is in the midst of a multi-year effort around deepening the understanding of our educators around the science of reading. And that is important to connect what we know around brain research to enhance literacy instruction. So we ensure that that level of planning and development is not only available to our staff, but also to our partners as well. A great example is the literacy lab, one that was called out earlier. They have participated in the same training, and we're much so aligned. And part of our process this school year has been refining those efforts to ensure that whatever strategies are taking place in the classroom around the science of reading is being incorporated into the high impact tutoring efforts as well.
I have a few questions. First, is this funding, sorry, back here, is this federal ESSER money, or is this local funding, or a combination of both?
We are leveraging our recovery dollars to invest in this initiative, and it is the combination of federal funding into the city, also in alignment with ESSER dollars that are being leveraged both at the state and through our LEAs.
And one other question, the students who are getting the high impact tutoring, how do you determine which students need those services?
Yeah, thank you, Laura, for that question. So we have, as I mentioned earlier, a multi-tiered system of supports. And so what we have schools do, and their tools to assist with this, is monitor regularly where students are academically, socially, and emotionally. And as we think about where students are and their data points, either be informal or formal, it informs the type of interventions and strategies that are applied to support students. And so we may identify that a student may need additional support in a math concept or a series of concepts over time where they're provided services either during the school day or after or before the school day. Sometimes that duration is shorter, and sometimes it's longer, depending upon the services and what the student needs. And then we're constantly reassessing mastery. So as students master concepts, we move on, and we want to ensure that all of our supports, again, are nimble and agile, so we can bring students in and out of these types of supports. And then we also ensure that there's proper training with all of our providers so that we can get to mastery for our students quicker and faster.
I have one on-topic question and then one off-topic question. In terms of the demand for tutoring programs like this, you know, I know I don't want to call it catch-up, but, you know, you're trying to enhance the education for a kid as much as possible. Is the demand there for programs like these, for additional programs, kind of on top of all the catching up and additional tutoring? I'm just kind of curious how you would assess the desire to go into programs like these, both from kids and parents.
So we certainly see the need and the demand. So sometimes parents will, you know, flag for us that they think that there's some misunderstandings around concepts and recommend that services be provided, and school teams do respond accordingly. But we do rely a lot on the data that we collect on a daily basis on our student performance to help drive those services. And it's important to note that these services also extend into the summer. So the mayor mentioned some of our summer programming. And so we do have opportunities for students to even learn and earn, or we have summer opportunities for students to have access to these types of support and enrichment activities. And we will keep at this, ensuring that our students are on track. We want all of our students to be prepared for the next step after graduation, just like we heard from Jada today.
And then regarding...
Before you go to your next question, I do want to add, the Chancellor mentioned already our out-of-school time, in this case, the summer. But what we recognize is that families are looking for enrichment, be it tutoring or other out-of-school times, whether it's vacation and breaks, summer, before care, after care, and summer camp. You like where I'm going with this, don't you, Paul? And how we enhance those opportunities is important for enrichment and learning. It's so important for the social and emotional well-being, but it's also important for the pocketbooks of DC families. And so we are always looking for opportunities to have really challenging, fun, enriching activities for our kids and families, because yes, it helps them academically and socially and emotionally, but it also helps families just emphasizes for families how great it is to raise a family in DC.
Regarding the incident yesterday at the Potomac Avenue Metro stop, Mayor, I'm just curious if you've had any broader safety conversations with Metro Police or WMATA Police in the past 24 hours, and also just big picture how you would characterize the partnership between your office, Metro Police, and specifically WMATA Police, just big picture.
Well, I think the big picture is just how we as a community approach public safety in general, but especially how we respond to crises or acute situations. Our heart goes out to the WMATA family because I know how much they are hurting, and I'm just so sorry for the loss of this very good and decent man to gun violence. And so we all have to be committed to what we need to do to remove guns from our community and hold people accountable who are using them. But I think that's kind of the general big story. But to your point, there are a lot of practical things that we're working on that I need to address around police capacity, and we're going to continue to do that. Yes.
I got one off topic for Dr. Grant. If you wouldn't mind just providing an update in your discussions with the state board about the social studies standards, and if you can just speak, just weighing in on what's happening in Florida and with the College Board in terms of that.
Two great questions. I'll frame them in two different ways. One, we are really delighted to continue the work on revising our social studies standards in Washington, D.C. They've not been revised in 20 years. And so we take great pride in the intentional way that we've done this work. Our standards revision process started with our teachers. And so the standards you see published today represent guiding principles that were given to us by the state board, and then Herculean levels of work done by DC educators to think through the unique approach to teaching both American history and DC history. I am excited about tweaks in the standards, particularly in 8th grade, which will now be an Action Civics year, where students will take their learning and apply it directly to the challenges that they face, both in DC and as they think about issues both nationally and abroad. To your direct question, public comment remains open until February 10th, and so we look forward to receiving more comment. We've received over 150 individual pieces of comment, individuals that have said this is great, go harder, individuals that have called out areas that they'd like us to go deeper in. We had a working session with our state board last night where they gave us additional feedback, and we are going to go through that process. And the February meeting, I'll be giving a full update on where we stand and doing this work in partnership with our state board towards standards adoption. To your broader question around what's taking place in Florida, we live in Washington, D.C., and we're grateful for the leadership of this great city that stands behind us in the teaching of American history and the process that we've put forth. I don't actually have a direct comment on what's taking place there. I'm grateful to be the state superintendent of education in D.C., and we remain committed to our standards revision process and look forward to taking all of you along on that journey, and do want to end with a tremendous thanks to the educators of Washington, D.C., and our National Advisory Committee, both local experts and national individuals from all across the country that have weighed in on our standards to make sure that we are presenting a balanced approach to the teaching of this country's history.
I have another question and off topic. Following the shooting of a safe passage worker this week, I want to know how you all are thinking about that program and its challenges, and also what have you heard from the Coolidge community and what they need in terms of safety moving forward?
So for the Coolidge community, and it's also important to note, the campus is also shared with Ida B. Wells, and next door is Whittier Elementary School. So we have been coordinating services and supports for both the campuses that are shared between Ida B. Wells and Coolidge, and also Whittier. We continue to ensure that families know that we have a variety of supports for students and families as we think about safety to and from school. We've informed the community that the incident appears not to be related to any school operations or functions. However, we will continue to ensure that all the necessary supports are available as we think about safety for our students, again, on campus and to and from campus.
And just generally speaking, we remain very committed to safe passage. It is very important that we have trusted adults that are working in these programs, and that will be our focus, making sure we have trusted adults that are working in these programs with our contractors. And I know that we have safe passage routes on, I think, covering 59 different campuses across our city. And they are an important part of our public safety patchwork. And we also added, I think that's 2 years ago, a direct connecting transportation service. And having trusted adults along these routes where kids are walking are very important to our patchwork of public safety provision. Okay. Any questions from the community? All right. Thank you, everybody.